This is gonna be a disaster, but we're gonna try. Oh god, no! No, 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 no. No. Hey guys, it's Sam and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the Silver Flames library. So excited to be here. I've got a little wrap-up video for you guys today. Why I didn't do one for January? I don't know. I almost wasn't gonna do one for this month, but I figured, you know what, might as well combine both months together and have 2 months worth of a wrap-up. Total, we have 17 books. That's a lot. That's quite a lot. You would think that'd be kind of equally distributed throughout January and February. No, I read 5 of them in January and 12 of them in February. Today is the last day of February. It's February 29th. I am almost done with Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Let's get into all these books that I read the past couple months and have them written down in order because we're gonna go in order. But out of the 17 books I've read so far this year, 3 of them were on Kindle, 1 of them was an audiobook, and the rest were all physical copies. As you can tell, I mainly like physical copies. My bookshelf is a little scrambled at the moment because I took these books off my shelf. That's why there's empty spaces, okay? Okay. The first book I started out my year with was House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This is a reread for me, being that House of Flame and Shadow came out at the end of January. Just kind of refreshed my memory before the new release came out. 5-star book. 4.5 5-star book for me. The first time I read this, it was 5 stars. Second time around, it was more like 4.75. I know there's really not much of a difference. I don't know. It's still really good. Still highly recommend. As you can probably guess, the second book that I read this year is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J Maas, because the new book came out the end of January. Again, just refreshing my memory of this book. 5-star book for me all around. Just the storytelling in this book, like just the way that Sarah J Maas's mind works with all the different storylines going on, and then when the end hits, you're just like, how does this all fit together? It does, but it just, again, 5-star read. This is like the first video of me actually talking about books, and you guys are like, what are your thoughts? And I'm like, just 5 stars, okay? Like, do I need to say more? So I've read a lot of books, and not many authors I come across I could just sit there and like binge their writing, but Sarah J Maas is one of them. I don't feel like I'm reading when I'm reading one of her books. I'm just so like immersed in the world. So since I finished those 2 a couple weeks before House of Flame and Shadow came out, I went and picked up Flawless by Elsie Silver. Now listen, I told myself I wasn't going to read this series because it's cowboy romance, and that's just kind of not my thing. But here's the thing that I came across. The third book, Powerless, is a hockey romance between Jasper and Sloane, and I wanted to read the third book because hockey is my sport. Hear me out. I know they're interconnected standalones, and there's not really any spoilers, but I still like to read them in order just because I can't read them out of order. Like if they're interconnected standalones, I need to read them in order, otherwise it just feels weird for me. So I picked this up not really expecting to like it too much, but actually, I mean, I had a good time reading this. I think I rated it 3 stars. All around fun time. The writing was pretty decent. I was more kind of interested in the romance than like the bull riding aspect part of it, but it was still kind of interesting how it was tied in there that way. Actually, I read this in a day. Now that I remember, I started this a day and I finished it. So like, if that tells you anything. The font is fairly big and it's very fast paced. Like it's only 367 pages. Like I read this, like I said, in a day. I had a good time. It's 3 stars only because I won't say I've read better romances, but this is not really something that I'll remember. I just feel like I won't remember it, but now that I've read 2 other books in this series, I feel like I might. So this might go up to a 4-star, who knows? But for right now, like, good time. Not normally one who likes country cowboys. That's just not my thing. I'm a metalhead, but that doesn't really justify why I wouldn't pick this up. Either way, I was pleasantly surprised at how much I like this. The next book I actually read on my Kindle. So I have a Kindle Paperwhite, a Deathly Hallows sticker, and this is the back of my Kindle. I think it's cute. Anyway, I read Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas on here. I think I also kind of rated it like 3 stars. It was my first Penelope Douglas book, if I can speak correctly. I keep wanting to call her Penelope Garcia because I just started my rewatch of Criminal Minds. If you know, you know. Should I be telling you what these books are about? I don't even remember her name, to be honest with you. In Birthday Girl, Avery? No, hold up. Okay, so her name's Jordan and his name is Pike. I don't know why I said Avery. Basically, you follow these 2 main characters. They're dating and her boyfriend's kind of not really all that great to her. They're broke, so they move in with his dad. She ends up having feelings for the dude's dad. More of like a taboo-ish kind of romance. I don't really know. I enjoyed my time while I was reading it. It was slow at some parts. I get 3 stars. I know that I read this book, but I can't really tell you all too much about it. I had a good time though, so I will definitely be looking into reading more of Penelope Douglas down the line. The last book that I read in January was Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, and I've read I've read Shadow and Bone series, and I've also read the Six of Crows duology, and this cover was just calling to me. I love the snake on the front, and it just kind of seemed like something that I would enjoy. Stark Academia, heard mixed things about it, because, I mean, reading books is subjective, like, everyone's entitled to their own opinions. I put it off for a while, and then I finally went and picked it up. I thoroughly enjoyed this, just like the dark gothic vibes of being at Yale University. Alex is a character, loved the whole vibes. Darlington, I like Darlington too. I was definitely having a good time while reading this, and so if I'm having a good time with a book, I normally just like to sit there and read it, but this is not really something that you can sit there and read fast, at least in my opinion. For me, I took a little bit more time reading this just because it is a lot, and there's a lot to be following with all the different, like, societies, how's all the different characters, aside from just Alex and Darlington and Dawes. What did I rate this? I rated it 4 stars. Honestly, I can definitely see myself rereading this at some point. Definitely recommend, though, if you're looking for, like, a dark academia, like, and this, if you go into this thinking it's anything like Six of Crows or Shadow and Bone, you will be disappointed, because this is completely different, but I loved every minute of it. So after I read Ninth House, I took a little bit of a break, because normally within series, if I really like it, I'll just go straight into the next book, but sometimes I might need a little bit of a breather in between, just so I don't put myself in a reading slump. I've actually become pretty good at knowing when I'm gonna put myself in a reading slump. I have to kind of mix it up. I can't just read the same thing. I don't know, it's weird. Okay, so after I read Ninth House, you can only guess. I started this at the end of January because it's when it came out. I pre-ordered it on my Kindle, and then a couple days later, my local bookstore had it, so I went and picked it up. That is House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas, the 3rd book in the Crescent City series. It came out January 30th. I don't want to say I have mixed feelings about this book, because I did thoroughly enjoy it. I did read it in, like, I think a week, which is fast for me when it's like an 800 and some page book. Like I said before with her writing, it's writing that I can just sit there and just binge and just not even feel like I'm reading. I'm so immersed in the world. There's a certain aspect to this book that I thought we were gonna get more of, but then again, it is a Crescent City book, and I can understand why, so I'm maybe thinking the next book, I don't want to spoil anything just in case any of you haven't read the series yet, but there's just certain aspects that I thought we were gonna get more of, but I can see why we didn't, and I can see where it can kind of play out in future books. Damn, this book is heavy. The cover is gorgeous, though. I'll tell you what. Honestly, when I'm seeing people talk about this book, some people have mixed reviews about it and how the side characters kind of carry the story. And, like, I can kind of get on that same train, even though I do love Hunt and Bryce. I kind of see myself liking the side character stories more, and sometimes throughout the story, I was more interested in what was going on with that storyline instead of Hunt and Bryce. I like the ending. Honestly, I did cry a little bit, not gonna lie. I like the way it ended. There was a lot of info dumping in this book, which was needed, but I feel like could have been just kind of brought back just a little bit. Either way, I had a good time. Emotional roller coaster the last, like, 200 pages. I finished this fairly quickly. I'm excited to read more from her. I'm excited for the next ACOTAR book. I rated House of Flame and Shadow 4.5 stars. The second book that I read in February is actually The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is like Criminal Minds, but make it teenagers edition. This is the reason why I'm starting my Criminal Minds rewatch, okay? Because I'm actually almost done with the second book right now, and I also read this in a day, completely devoured it. It's young adult, so the text is bigger, chapters are short. I don't know what it is, but if the chapters are short, I feel like I read a book like 10 times faster. That's probably not at all accurate, but basically the Naturals are a group of 5 of these peoples in this Naturals program that they're like gifted kids. They don't have like magical powers or anything, but they're basically really good at like profiling and just kind of stuff like that. Criminal Minds, pretty much. And they're sent to work on cold cases to help figure those out, but of course there's a little bit more of a twist in here. I don't know. I straight up had a good time. Finished the day. I'm almost done with the second book, and we'll probably finish the series sometime in the near future. Very fast paced, easy read. Definitely recommend. I think I rated this 4 stars. There is a little bit of romance mentioned in here, like a love triangle, kind of like the Inheritance games, if y'all have read that. I have read that. I have not read the Brothers Hawthorne. I don't know if I really am interested in it, if it's worth it. Heard mixed reviews about it, but the Inheritance games is another good series by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and I thought I would check this one out. All around good time, good vibes, 4 stars, fast-paced, Criminal Minds. Just go ahead and read it. Remember how I mentioned earlier that I kind of take a break in between series? If you can kind of see, I started the Natural series, started Chestnut Springs. This is when I read Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. Look, my bubble was bursted after I finished this book, okay? Because I thought this was a duology. Nope, there's another book coming out. Don't really know what that one's gonna be about. Honestly, like, I had a good time reading this. Was also like a 4-star book for me. Still love the vibes. The title makes a lot of sense once you start reading this. All around good time, good vibes, 4 stars. Dark Academia, again, it's nothing like her other series, but it's fantasy because there is magic in here, and like, you know, the different societies. It's taking place at Yale. Like, I had a good time. There were some parts where I was just at the edge of my seat. Also, what's really nice, both of these books are floppy. I love me a good floppy book, okay? We'll definitely be picking up the 3rd one whenever that comes out. I'm also probably going to read her new novel that comes out in April, I believe, The Familiar. Don't even know really what that's about. I'm excited. I will say, since I wasn't really able to sit there and binge this, which is fine because I'm able to enjoy the book a little bit more. It is just kind of nice to go at your own pace and kind of take this all in because there is a lot. I feel like I had something else to say, but I can't remember what it was. Some parts of the story are pretty dark, but so it was a little slow at some points, but like, I feel like it was spaced out enough to where like, okay, something's happening now, it's getting good, then it's gonna slow down for a bit, but like, stuff is still kind of happening. I know some people didn't really like the sequel. I think I might have liked it better than the first one. 4.5 stars. Love the characters, love the gothic, like, Dark Academia vibes. Basically, I kind of, in my head, was like, oh, it's just Harry Potter, but like more adult. No, not really. If you know, you know, I guess. Next book I read, I actually listened to it. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. Thriller mystery. I listened to it through Spotify because look, Spotify has audiobooks now and you have 15 hours of listening time a month. So I thought, you know what, I might as well listen to a book while I'm driving to work or just when I'm at home. I don't feel like holding a book or really like making my brain work that much. So I read None of This Is True. I've heard mixed reviews. I heard some people like it, some people didn't, and listen, when I was listening to it, I didn't really like it. And I don't know if it's because I listened to an audiobook, but I feel like if I were to read it, I wouldn't have finished it because at that point I was more interested in how it was going to end than anything because I couldn't stand any of the characters. They were all insufferable. The husband, I guess the main woman's husband, I don't even remember his name. Like, I just didn't really care. Like, he's not a good person. It was predictable. I wasn't really feeling it, but other people like it, so I don't let me stop you from reading it. I didn't really like any of the characters. I was kind of just in it to see how the story ended, and it was just kind of predictable because, I mean, the title, None of This Is True, you're kind of just like you don't really believe anything that's going on, if that makes sense. 2 stars is what I rated it. This is just my opinion. You can absolutely love this book. Maybe if I would have read it, I would have had a different experience. I did listen to it pretty quickly. I started it, got maybe like 20% of the way through it, listened to it to and from work, and then got home and then just listened to like the last 4 hours of it just sitting here. I wasn't doing anything. I was just laying on my bed just listening to it. So I mean, it's not like I took a long time to listen to it. Normally I do try to read one book at a time, but sometimes I'll like start a book and then if like another one comes out that I want to read, I'll start that and kind of put it on the back burner. I can read 2 books at once, but they just can't be the same genre, especially fantasy, because I'll get like the magic systems and stuff. So since I'm able to read during the day a decent amount, I can't really be listening to audiobooks, so I started Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. 2 authors, Christina and Lauren, but Love in Other Words. I had this book on my shelf for a pretty long time. I've seen people love this book, and I was just like, you know what? It's been on my shelf. I've been staring at it. It's been staring at me. It's time. And honestly, I love this book. Definitely a 5-star read for me, which I think, aside from my Sarah J. Maas rereads at the beginning of the year, this was my first 5-star book of the year. It took me to February to find a 5-star, which I feel like I'm becoming a little bit more picky in my ratings because I'm reading a lot more books and I kind of know what to look for, but I also feel like I've been reading all these books that I've been reading pretty highly because I feel like I'm pretty good at picking books for myself that I know I would enjoy, which, crazy, right? Childhood friends to lovers to strangers to friends to lovers, if that makes sense. You'll understand when you read this. It's about Macy and, what is his name? Elliot. That's right, Elliot. 5-star book. This book made me feel things. One of my favorites. I think I like the other cover of this better, but this is still a cute cover, and I think the story's told very well, in my opinion. First 5-star book of the year. Okay, now my mood's kind of dampened, so we gotta like bring it back up. Okay, so I started another fantasy series. Started and finished because it's a trilogy and I've read all 3 books this month. So we're gonna start off with The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni? I don't know how to pronounce it. If I butchered it, I'm sorry, but I've seen Sarah Caroli talk about this book. I've seen it. I don't really remember who else was talking about this, but I saw her talk about it and she was reading it and she really liked it. I can understand. I think she said it was slow in some parts of the book, which I agree, but I was just having a grand old time with this ending though. My jaw was on the floor for like 15 minutes after I finished this. Basically, 17-year-old Kiva is in this death prison called Zalandov. She was sent there when she was 7 years old and she has survived in there for a decade. She's, as the title says, the prison healer. She's the healer in this prison. There's kind of like rebel activity going on. The rebel queen gets captured. This is all in the back of the book, by the way. I'm not gonna mention too much because I know that I like to go into books mostly blind. But yeah, Kiva was sent to this prison when she was 7 years old. She's the healer of this prison. There's some rebel activities going on and the rebel queen is actually captured, sent to the prison, and Kiva's supposed to keep her alive for the trials by ordeal. Wow, that is a mouthful. I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to give anything away, but I had a good time reading this. There was the couple plot twists that really got me. Ending, like I said, had my jaw on the floor. I immediately had to go read the next one, and good thing I had it on hand. I believe I rated this 4.25 stars. Love the characters. I feel like in fantasy it's hard for me to really become attached to like characters and have the world kind of be built up in my mind. In some fantasy series I get kind of detached. This one, no, the world, I didn't really feel like I was reading. And also what kind of convinced me to read this is Sarah J Maas has a blurb on the top, if that tells you anything. The way just like the setting was described and built up, like you really kind of feel like you were there, and I fell in love with these characters. Okay, I highly recommend this book. I know I said that I was gonna go directly into the second book of the Prison Healer series, but here's the thing. When I finished the Prison Healer, there was this book that had come out. I'm pretty sure I started the next book, but I didn't finish it. So the next book I read and finished was also read on my Kindle again. It's Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton. Last year I read the Cat and Mouse Duet. I think I rated the second book maybe 4-5. I rated it pretty highly. I do like those books. Very, very dark, very, very toxic. So if you do decide to read those, check trigger warnings. But Where's Molly is basically kind of like a spin-off of that, of one of the characters you get introduced to in the second book. Well, basically where Addie is in the second book, she finds a journal is Molly's, so that's kind of her story. Short read, it was like 220, it was less than 250 pages. Read it in a day. I think I gave it 3 stars. I mean, it served its purpose. It was a good story, but nothing too like groundbreaking or like world changing. Like the book didn't change my life, but like I had a good time reading it, very interested in her story. I just felt like there was maybe a little something missing, but like I said, had a good time, 3 stars. So after Where's Molly, yeah, did read The Gilded Cage, second book in the Prison Healer series. I like this one even better than the first book. You meet a few more characters in here. I think you maybe even, no, yeah, you meet a few more characters in here. I'm not gonna tell you anything about this book if you haven't read it at all, because spoiler is from the first book, but this is basically like once you finish the first book, you're gonna want to have this on hand. Fell in love with all the characters. I think I gave this 4.25 stars again. I did like this a little bit better. The storytelling is just so good with this fantasy novel. Like I didn't even really feel like I was reading. That's a big plus for me. This is one of my favorite fantasy series now. 4.25 stars. The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. I'm so sorry if I pronounce any of these authors' names wrong. Highly recommend. Second book in the Prison Healer series. The covers of these are gorgeous also. Like I love this little detailing like over here. Like, and even like on the spine. You can tell it I had it like sitting like this. You remember when I said a good thing I had the second book on hand? Well, when I finished this, again, jaw on the floor for like 15 minutes. The problem I had, I did not have the third book on hand, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to go buy it this weekend when I'm off work. In order to distract myself from not having the third book, I picked up Heartless by Elsie Silver. I did like this book better than Flawless. Single dad, age gap, kind of no, there is an age gap. Cade Eaton, that man, I will die for that man. That man is my husband, not actually. Willa, I love Willa too. Willa she's my 25? Yeah, and Cade is 38. He's 13 years older than Willa. This is the first single dad romance that I have read, and honestly, I loved it. Didn't think I would I've never read it, so I wasn't sure what my opinion was. It didn't really interest me. Small town romance, single dad, say no more. I will read it. I will eat this up. I almost read this in a day. Outside factors like work and all that, I just good. Had a good time. Highly recommend. Fast pace. The kid in this book, Luke, he's 5 years old. That kid is smart, and some of the things he says are just so funny. I was like, oh my god, did he really just say that? Very funny. There's some points where you like really feel for the kid, or a little sad about what's happening. Not gonna spoil it, but had a good time. Did I say that with everybody? Had a good time? I always have a good time when I'm reading books, but like if I repeat myself too much, sorry. Not sorry. I'm not sorry. These are the new covers of these books, and I know when I first kind of was hearing about the series, they had different covers that were like, I don't know how to describe it, but definitely not something that I would pick up. I think these colors and covers both are very cute, and they're very like minimalistic and aesthetically pleasing. That kind of enticed me a little bit more to read these, not gonna lie. And then the time has come when I went to the bookstore. I bought the third book in the Prison Healer series because I needed to know how it ends, okay? I was sad because this is the only copy that Barnes & Noble had, and it's a little ripped, but I needed the book, and I was like, I'm buying this. I don't care. Rated this a 4.5 stars. I enjoyed it. The storytelling is great. This is my favorite of the trilogy, is this last one right here, because the build up from just the first two books kind of all comes full circle in this one. You really kind of fall in love with the characters, and I was kind of mad for like a little bit of the book with these two characters. I wish they would just communicate and just get over their like not talking to each other. Like, I get that you're mad, or you're blaming yourself for whatever happened, but just talk it out, please. We can't go the whole book like this. But that really didn't bother me much because there was other stuff going on to kind of keep your mind off of that. But I wasn't really mad because I understand why they're not talking. Like, when one of the characters is like, well, why don't you just go talk to him? And she's like, what? Talk to him? Like, go talk to him. Anyway. It's not gonna make any sense if you haven't read this. The ending was satisfying. I feel like I could have used a little bit more. Like, everything is kind of rounded off and like happy ending, like hoorah. I don't know. There's still questions that I have that are unanswered. You can kind of allude to be like, okay, this is what's gonna happen, but I want to know how. I want more. I love these characters too much to just let them go right now, okay? And again, the art on this is really pretty, like all the rings, and they're important to the story. If you've read it, you know. It's the third book in a series, so if you haven't read the first one, I'm not spoiling it for you. Also, just like the details on these spines are pretty cool. Alright, so the last two books that I have read this month. This other one is also I read on my Kindle. It's No Exit by Taylor Adams. Thriller book. Funny enough how I came across this, I kind of seen people on BookTube kind of talk about it. It's like, I'll get to that eventually. It's not really interesting. Then one day I came home from work and I was like, I want to watch something on TV, watch something different. I was looking through Hulu, looking through the movies, see if there anything kind of caught my attention. This movie came up called No Exit. And I was like, that looks familiar. So I watched the trailer and I read the description. I was like, that's a book. That has to be a book. So I looked, and yep, it was a book. At the time, it was not on Kindle Unlimited. So I was like, I'll get to it eventually. Then Sarah Caroli actually just recently read No Exit by this author and was like, hey, it's on Kindle Unlimited. I was like, what? So I went ahead and read it because I want to watch the movie. Yes, I'm one of those, oh, I gotta read the book before I watch the movie. Look, it's just the way it is, okay? No Exit, it's basically about this college student that wants to go home for the holidays for Christmas. Her mother is in the hospital, but she gets stuck at a rest stop in bad weather, and there's these other few people that are stuck there with her, and she goes outside to try to make a phone call to update her family where she is, but she can't get any cell service, and she thinks she sees something inside of this van, and she's like, no, can't be real. And then she goes back and she's like, oh my god, like, I'm not seeing things. There is a child in this van right here, and then she's trying to save this girl, and then she can't trust anybody at this rest stop. Kept my attention, very like thrilling, very like on the edge of my seat of like what's gonna happen next, and you're like, oh my god, I can't trust this person, can't trust this person. It was never like scary, but like now I'm gonna go watch the movie. 3 stars, kept my attention. The chapters were fairly long, and like normally I'm not one to like long chapters, but you don't really feel like they're that long since the book is kind of fast paced, and the way the chapters are sectioned off, it's like the time of night, because this takes place just all at one night at a rest stop. So like the names of the chapters are like the times of the night, and I thought that was interesting because you never really see something like that, because a lot of the books that I read take place over the course of like months to years depending on the story, and I haven't really read anything that takes place in just one night, so I thought that was kind of cool. Now the last book that I read in February is Powerless by Elsie Silver. Let me tell you what, it took me a while to get here because I wanted to read the other two before this one, because this is the third book in the Chestnut Spring series. This is the one I was most looking forward forward to because it's hockey romance. Hockey's my sport. Super excited for this. It's purple. Purple's my favorite color, okay? I just love the little flower on there. Another 5-star book for me. Jasper. Like Jasper, okay? Jasper and Sloane. Jasper's an NHL player. Sloane is a dancer, ballerina. She's loved him ever since she laid eyes on him when she was like 11 and he came to Wishing Well Ranch, and he never really paid attention to her. They like don't speak for a while. She is engaged to someone else when this book first starts, but oh my god, like I actually went and annotated it a little bit. This is my favorite book so far that I've read this year. I was sitting there reading it and I was just like that can't be happening. Love this. I do plan on reading the other 2 books in the series at some point. It's just not really high up on my, because this is the one that I wanted to read, but I am interested in the 2 other stories. Like I said, if it's an interconnected standalone, like I'm gonna still read them in order because, okay, look, I know they're romance books and like, okay, the first book, the first 2 characters end up together, but you get like the other characters throughout the book. So let's say I start with like the 3rd book in this interconnected standalone, right? Obviously, you know the couple's gonna end up together, but like I don't want to know if they have like twins or triplets in the epilogue. Like, let me read that in order, please. I don't know if that made sense, but it makes sense to me, so that's just what we're going with, okay? This is my favorite book, and it even matches my nails. Can you tell purple's my favorite color? Jasper has my whole heart. This is also kind of age gap. I don't think it's that bad. I think she's 28 and they're 6 years apart. Yeah, that makes him 34. I really like Sloane too. She really knows how to talk to Jasper and she's that person for him. I love that for them, okay? But yeah, those are all the books that I read in January and February, and being today is February 29th, since it is a leap year, I honestly will finish this today. I've got a little less than 100 pages left of Killer Instinct. 2nd book in the Natural series. Fast-paced, things are happening, short chapters. Also, the color is purple, and I'm just here for it. Criminal Minds with these teenagers, and like their brains are I'm just in awe of how these kids' brains work, because I could never. Yeah, I'm on chapter 38, page 287, and I'll probably, like I said, finish this tonight. I have the next book in the series sitting down there. I don't have the last book yet, but I do plan on getting that next time I go to the bookstore. So yeah, those are all the books that I read in January and February so far this year. Hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know if I'll make a TBR video, only because I am very much a mood reader, and like I can't just assign books, be like, okay, I'm gonna read these this month. I mean, I can try. I might try in the future to make like a TBR. I'm very like mood based. Like I went from a romance to a young adult like mystery thriller, and then after this I think I might start, I don't know, I still need to read Ruthless Vows, which is the 2nd book after Divine Rivals and that little duology thing that's going on. I don't know, I'm very much a mood reader. I can't like just list and then. As for like a TBR, I don't know, we'll see. I think it'll be fun to do like TBR prompts like I've seen on here, or like make my own board game. I don't know, I've seen a lot of other people have their ideas. I love watching those kind of videos, like any like wrap-ups or TBR videos. Like those are the ones I gravitate towards the most. It's just fun to see what people are reading, and that's kind of how I get my book recommendations. When I see a bunch of people talking about the same books, I'll be like, okay, I'll read that eventually. Those are all the books I've read so far this year, so thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will hopefully be uploading more videos in the near future, and I hope you guys have a great day, night, whatever time you're watching this. Thank you for watching, and see you guys in the next one. Bye!